All right, guys, here we are again. We have got our second part here of knife safety. I'm starting back with slide number 18, cutting board safety and sanitation. So we already talked about this a little bit in the last video, and we talked about this during food sanitation. But use clean, sanitized cutting board. With the meat, we can do the chlorine bleach solution, or I'll just have you clean them with a bleach solution that I have back there with spray. So anytime we're working with raw meat, we will be cleaning those red cutting boards a little differently than just soap and water. The green and wooden cutting boards are fine to use soap and water. So going on to the next thing, cleaning knives. Now, I always want the knives washed, dried, put back in their sleeve, and put back into the knife drawer. And when we talked about storing knives, I think one of the videos talks about storing knives on a magnetic rack or on a specialized knife rack. We don't have that. So that's why we use the one drawer to the right of the sink, and that should be in each station. And that's where the knives are, and they should always be stored with those covers on and the blade pointing toward the back of the drawer and the handle toward the front of the drawer. So the other thing that we have a rule on, and it's probably the most broken rule in foods class, in my other foods classes, is do not ever put a knife in the sink. All right, you throw a knife in the sink, and then you throw a cutting board in the sink, and then you throw a bowl in the sink, and then you fill the sink, and then somebody sticks their hand down in there and can cut theirself on the knife. Knives never go in the sink. You can place the dirty knife beside the sink, behind the sink, where you know you're going to need to wash it, but never throw the knife in the sink. That is a hazard, a cutting hazard. So when you wash the knife, you keep it separate from the other dishes and carefully dry the knives from the dull side. There is a video here, very short one, that you can watch now on your knives. Storing knives. It always says use a knife block or specially designed blocks for kitchen drawers or magnetic strip. As I said, we don't have those. That's why we put the knife case back on the knife, put them in the drawer, blade pointing backwards, handle toward the front. That's how we store our knives. They should always be there. Each station should always have its knives in the appropriate place. Also, we have with our knives a cutting glove, those gray cutting gloves. Some of you have had to use those before when I had you cutting up things and I made you use them. We will still be using them in Intro to Facts class, and you'll even start out using them in Foods 1 and Foods 2 at the beginning of the semesters if you take those in the future. So just letting you know that. What those do is they help you not get cut if you were to have a knife slip. So they're not foolproof, however. Oh, my hair doesn't look very good. They're not foolproof, so you can't try to cut through one to see if it cuts. That's not going to work. But you wear the cutting glove on your non-dominant hand, your claw hand. Okay, that way if you have a knife slip and you cut, it won't cut your hand. You don't wear the glove on the hand you actually hold the knife with. Hope that makes sense. So to recap here on knife safety, we need to know the type of knives we have. Now each station has a set of Cuisinart knives. The big purple one is a chef's knife. Okay. We use that for basically all general cutting. The long, skinny red knife is for slicing finer items, slicing things for a chicken breast for fajitas or slicing a tomato. The tiny blue knife is a paring knife for peeling or cutting small vegetables or garnishes. The yellow knife is a serrated blade, and it is for bread. The green knife has a thicker blade, and it's a little bit chunkier knife, and it is for bigger fruits and vegetables like a watermelon or big zucchinis, things that need just a little bit more weight to get those cut through. And the dark purplish blue knife is called a utility knife. And that's for tough things that are difficult to cut with other knives. So those are the knives that we have and that we use. We will use the purple chef's knife, the red slicer knife, and the green Santoku knife the most. Paring knife will be used somewhat. I prefer to use the vegetable peelers to peel vegetables, because I feel like it's a little safer, because you peel away from yourself with that and you don't have to use that paring knife to, because with a paring knife you kind of automatically cut towards yourself instead of away from yourself when you're peeling. So I do prefer the veggie peelers, which should also be in the knife drawer. In the knife drawer there should be the knives, the vegetable peelers, and the cutting gloves in that drawer. So that's the knives we use the most. The knives need to be sharp. If you feel like the knife is dulling, please let me know so we can sharpen it. We always use the claw technique. The claw technique is how you use your non-dominant hand to hold whatever you're cutting, and then the knife in the other hand to cut your vegetables. The tip of the knife stays on the cutting board as much as possible, and you just guide your knife through whatever you're cutting. All right. We use red cutting boards for what? Raw meat, fish, or poultry. The green and wooden are for all other foods or processed foods that are already cooked. So for example, if I have, if we need to cut up, say, summer sausage that we are going to put out on a tray to eat, that is a pre-cooked item. Okay, you do not use a red cutting board for that. You can use a green or wooden. It is meat, but it's not being cooked. It's not raw. So you don't want to put that on the red cutting board. When we carry a knife, we carry it blade down. We pass it carefully, holding the dull side of the blade with the handle facing forward the other person. We definitely use our separate cutting boards. We've talked about that quite a bit. When we clean knives, we never put a knife in the sink. We wash it, dry it, put the cap back on, or the sleeve back on, and put it back in the drawer, point facing toward the drawer, handle at the point facing toward the back of the drawer, the handle at the front of the drawer. So what I want you to do now is I want you to get in groups, and you are going to make a poster. So I want you to get one of those poster boards. They're like a little bit bigger than regular paper. They should either be over by the embroidery machine or in the top cabinet by the embroidery machine, the longer pieces of paper. And you are going to write at the top, just like the top of this slide says, knife safety tips. And then you're going to write safety down the left side of your poster. And then you're going to write a sentence out with each letter. So S, the example is securely hold the knife. So you're going to write safety tips with S-A-F-E-T-Y. Safety. And you're going to make this the best poster you can. I want you to add lots of art to it. Make sure your safety tips are good ones that come from the PowerPoint and videos. Make sure your safety tips are spelled correctly and everything that's on there is spelled correctly. Like the first word of your sentence should be capitalized. If it needs a period, it needs a period. If it needs comma, it needs a comma. And I want you to make a poster with your partner. If there's a group that is uneven, like if there's one extra, you can have one group of 3 if need be. So that is what are you going to do for the rest of the class period is work on your safety poster. If you don't get them done, that's okay. We'll get them done Monday. But that is it for today. Have fun with your poster.